Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're looking at the natural world through a totally different lens. I want you to imagine the environment around us, not just as this random collection of plants and animals, but as a massive, highly efficient biological factory. It's literally an engine of life. It operates 24/7, and every single component has a highly specific job to do. So we're going to look at the dynamics of ecological flow and structure and unpack exactly how this incredible, intricate network operates on a day-to-day basis.
Okay, let's dive right into this. When you look at a landscape, what are you actually seeing? What truly fuels the invisible machinery of our planet? It looks peaceful out there, maybe even kind of static, but right beneath the surface, there is this unbelievable system of production, consumption, and recycling, all happening at breakneck speed. Understanding what actually powers this world fundamentally changes how we see our environment.
So, here is our roadmap for today. We're going to start with the building blocks of life, move into ecosystem productivity, and then map out energy flow versus nutrient cycling. After that, we'll look at ecosystem architecture, and finally, we'll put the whole shebang together by exploring a pond ecosystem in action.
All right, let's start right at the foundation with Section 1, the building blocks of life, or as I like to think of them, the gears of our natural engine.
Every ecosystem is basically an intricate network made up of two fundamental categories. First up, we've got the abiotic components. These are the non-living parts of the environment. Think sunlight, water, temperature, minerals. Then we have the biotic elements, which are, all the living organisms. Now, it's not just that these two categories happen to hang out in the same space. The absolute crucial takeaway here is their interactions. The unique structure and function of any ecosystem is completely defined by how these living and non-living gears interact with one another. They don't just sit there in isolation. They push and pull against each other to literally shape the living web. Let's move to Section 2 and see how this builds. Powering up ecosystem productivity. How does this factory actually turn sunlight into fuel? Well, it all starts with productivity. In ecology, productivity is just the rate at which organisms in an ecosystem create organic matter. And the absolute most vital part of this is primary productivity. This is the magical process where producers, mainly plants and algae, take an abiotic element, sunlight, and convert it into usable energy through photosynthesis. This is the foundation of the entire ecosystem. Every single life form that can't make its own food relies 100% on this primary productivity to survive. Without this initial conversion of sunlight into fuel, the entire biological factory would just grind to a halt. No way around it.
But hey, creating life is only half the equation, right? What happens at the end of the line? When organisms die, their bodies don't just sit there and go to waste. They become a totally critical resource through decomposition. This is where decomposers, specifically things like fungi and bacteria, step up as nature's ultimate recycling plant. They break down that dead organic matter, process it, and recycle those crucial nutrients right back into the soil. And this returned energy is a game changer because it empowers our producers to keep doing their thing. It's basically a perfect closed-loop system of power.
Which brings us to Section 3, energy flow versus nutrient cycling. Let's take a look at the traffic system of nature. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the contrast between two fundamental mechanics that people honestly mix up all the time: energy flow and nutrient cycling. They operate completely differently. Energy transfer, that's a chain reaction, but it moves in a strict, linear, one-way direction. It flows from the sun to the producers, up to the consumers, and finally ends up at the decomposers. Once it's used, it is gone as heat. Nutrients, on the other hand, are the ultimate roundabout. They are continuously cycled within the ecosystem in this endless exchange of organic and inorganic matter. This brilliant cycling ensures that essential elements are just always available to living organisms over and over again. So, to put it simply, energy flows through, but nutrients cycle around.
All right, moving right along to Section 4, ecosystem architecture. We're shifting from how resources move to the physical structure of the space they move through. When we picture an ecosystem, we usually think of a flat map, right? Actually, scratch that. They are incredibly three-dimensional. It's a concept called stratification. Stratification explains how different species occupy entirely different vertical levels within their environment. Ecosystems are layered. Think of them like a high-rise building. And where an organism lives vertically dictates an enormous amount about its life, especially when it comes to how much light it gets. A forest is a brilliant illustration of this. If you look from the top down, you'll see these distinct architectural layers. The upper canopy is dominated by huge trees, acting almost like a massive solar panel roof. Right below that, you've got a middle layer packed with shrubs. And finally, all the way down at the bottom, there's the forest floor, covered in herbs and grasses. Now, this vertical layering isn't just about height. It profoundly impacts species diversity and abundance. Because light availability changes so drastically from that bright upper canopy down to the shaded floor, it creates highly specific niche habitats. It literally allows a multitude of different life forms to thrive together in the exact same physical location. Finally, let's tie all of these concepts together in Section 5, the pond ecosystem in action. Let's see this engine in motion.
Let's walk through the delicate balance of a pond chronologically. Step 1. We start with our abiotic components. The water holds dissolved nutrients, and the sun dictates the temperature and the overall health of the pond. Step 2. The producers power up. Those autotrophic components, like phytoplankton and aquatic plants, harness that sunlight to create organic matter. Step 3. Energy flows to the consumers. Zooplankton and all sorts of fish feed on those producers. And Step 4. The cycle completes. Down at the bottom, our decomposers break down dead organisms. They return those vital nutrients straight back into the pond water, empowering the phytoplankton to start the whole entire process over again. It is this absolute perfect harmony of abiotic factors, producers, consumers, and decomposers keeping the cycle of life going.
So the crucial point is, why does unpacking this factory matter? By grasping these fundamental concepts, the interplay of productivity, decomposition, energy flow, and nutrient cycling, we get so much more than just a biology review. We gain a really deep appreciation for the true interconnectedness of life. But more importantly, we unlock the exact insights we need for ecological preservation and sustainability. Look, if we want to protect these environments, we absolutely have to understand the invisible machinery that keeps them running.
I want to leave you with this final thought. We've just seen how an ecosystem operates as this masterful, totally sustainable engine where nutrients endlessly cycle and literally nothing goes to waste. So if nature has perfected the art of zero-waste recycling, what can human societies learn from the living web? How can we take the blueprints of this incredible biological factory and apply them to our own modern world? Something to